Do you enjoy the aroma of scented candles or spending winters cozying up next to a fire? You may have also noticed that practically all religions including lighting a fire with candles or some other type of flame. But what do you know about Hestia, the goddess of the hearth? Don't worry, we know the chances of you knowing her are very slim. So today we're going to tell her story to all of you. The Greek goddess of the hearth, Hestia, was one of the first Olympians and was known for being pure and peaceful. However, she is not a prominent figure in many myths because she was obligated to remain at home and take care of the fireplace. As a result, the much wilder Dionysus would eventually take her place in the pantheon. But this shouldn't stop us from telling her story. Hestia was the eldest child of Cronus, the Titans' ruler, and Rhea, his wife. Cronus ate his offspring to preserve his kingdom because he was worried that one of his heirs would overthrow him. Only Zeus, who would eventually rule the gods, was able to escape. Later, Zeus forced his father, whom he had overthrown, to vomit up all the kids he had eaten. The last of the siblings to be thrown up was Hestia. She is thus sometimes referred to as Cronus' oldest and youngest child. Hestia gave up her crown for Dionysus because she was happy to take care of the hearth in Olympus. Like her brother Hades, the lord of the underworld, she is not technically a member of the pantheon of the 12 Olympian gods. Hestia was the goddess of the hearth, the house, the building, the family, the state, and domesticity. As the goddess of the family hearth, she also presided over the cooking of bread and the preparation of the family meal. She was also the goddess of the sacrificial flame and received a share of every sacrifice to the gods. The cooking of the communal feast of sacrificial meat was naturally a part of her domain. Since Hestia's name means hearth or fireplace, her position demonstrates how significant the hearth was to ancient Greek social and religious life. Making and preserving fire was both essential and difficult for more primitive societies, which made the household fire a sacred element at a very early stage of history. In later days, Hestia became its embodiment. She wasn't given many epithets to describe her by the Greeks. The most typical names were probably beloved, eternal, and she of the public hearth. Hestia was one of the 3 Greek goddesses to be a virgin, never marrying or having children. She was revered as a virgin goddess because fire is a pure and purifying element. According to Greek legend, she allegedly became a virgin to preserve harmony on Mount Olympus because she was loved by both Poseidon and Apollo. Hestia promised to remain a virgin for all time by resting her hand on Zeus's head out of fear that choosing one of them may cause trouble. Zeus gave her the principal position in the home and the first and wealthiest share of the offerings made by humans as payment for keeping the peace instead of arranging a marriage. Families pour sweet wine in her honor and dedicate the heaviest amount of meals to Hestia, giving her the first offering at every household sacrifice. Hestia's virginity was only ever in danger once after that. The drunken fertility deity Priapus attempted to rape the sleeping goddess after a simple feast. Hestia and the visitors were, fortunately, both awakened when a donkey began to bray. They then scolded Priapus and drove him away. Since then, donkeys have been rested and decorated on Hestia's feast day. Hestia is depicted in incredibly few paintings though. She typically appears as a humble middle-aged woman wearing a veil. She occasionally stands in front of a big fire while holding a staff or some flowers. But unfortunately, she is that kind and peaceful goddess who rarely appears in any tales. This is due to the fact that she must continue to be in the god's temple alone, tending to the perpetual heavenly fire, even as the other Olympians pass through the skies in a ritual procession. As sacrifices to the Olympian gods were made over an open flame in a hearth, Hestia was intrinsically tied to all sacrifices. This is especially true for public sacrifices, for which the fire was drawn by a city's central fire hearth sacred to Hestia. She is both privileged and trapped by this. Thus, Hestia's only visible presence among people was the crackling of the fire. According to Aristotle, it is the goddess laughing. Since the hearth was such an integral part of the household in ancient Greece, Hestia also expanded her sphere of responsibility to include the family and the house. She became known as the Greek goddess of the domestic sphere as a result of this association. When Hestia decided to remain single, Zeus is reported to have put her in the midst of the house. The family hearth also served as the home's spiritual center. One could send gifts and modest sacrifices to Hestia through the hearth. Additionally, the absence of the fire was regarded as unlucky because it was thought to be a sign that the goddess had abandoned the family. Greek women were expected to properly tend to the family fire for both their own personal use and out of respect for the goddess. According to legend, Hestia is a kind, forgiving, discreet, and non-confrontational goddess. Each Greek city and state had its own patron deity. As an example, Athens had Athena. Hestia was nevertheless generally regarded as the goddess of the state. Her interest related to the significance of the hearth in public life, and the idea of the city as a big family. For use during festivals, each community had a sacred fire honoring Hestia. All state sacrifices and offerings were made using the fire of this communal hearth. An extinguished fire was a terrible portent for the city, so maintaining the hearth was a crucial task. The home to the city's sacred fire was called a prytanion. These prytania served as the religious and community centers for a city. Pindar refers to Hestia as the protector of these city halls. The population of a city could take from the sacred fire to restart their own home's hearth, and the sacred fire from Delphi was used to replenish the fires in other Greek cities when they were extinguished. And that is pretty much it for Hestia's story. Even though she is so prominent in everything, we frequently forget to thank her for all she does for us in her sacrifices, right? Let us know your thoughts on this and about the goddess of the hearth in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay mythical.